Hello and welcome to the episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on February the 15th, 2022. I'm your host, gaming psychologist, and with me, as always, digging around the internet,
Caffeine Rage.
On today's episode, we will of course discuss some games that we've played. We're going to talk about City Skylines mod chaos. Newegg will now accept open box returns, quote, no questions asked, end quote. Mario Kart 8 DLC courses will be playable online, even if you don't own them. We didn't have a community corner this week, but we'll just do community corner. And then, if time allows, which we think it will this week, we'll have a Steam Discovery queue. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing alright.
Well, that is alright. I think that's alright. Sounds alright to me.
I mean, we did technically have Horse Girls from Jim. Role-playing Red Dead Redemption server. But do we need to get you salty about Red Dead Redemption again?
Probably not.
And Best Buy doing some fuckery with GPUs that I missed that link, but I want to read that one before talking about it, so we could do that one next week, especially with Newegg as well. Do we need a second one?
No, we don't.
I just wanted to highlight that, yes, we did see it. We'll talk about that later on, though.
Yep. Companies, they suck. Who knew? We knew.
Yeah. Woo.
Woo. Woo. Yes. The most unenthusiastic woo we could muster. Woo. Oh. My brain is just like there. Not all together tonight. I didn't have like
That's
a bad
different
day.
now.
Well, fair enough. I didn't have a bad day, but it was busy enough and like I had enough going on. My brain is like, wait, what now? Feels kind of slightly hazy. But it's okay.
Yeah.
I'll manage.
Yeah, today definitely didn't feel like a Tuesday. If that makes any sense, right?
Yeah. Today for me felt like a Thursday. Thursdays are usually my busiest days of the week. And today gave Thursday a run for its money. Because I don't do anything Thursday night. I have no tabletop stuff. We don't hang out. We don't record. So usually Thursday night I just kind of crash. But it's Tuesday.
Well, it probably didn't help that, had a bunch of housework to do, so it just was tiring.
Right.
Is that right?
Yep. I haven't been up to anything interesting lately either. No interesting stories. No weirdness. Just kind of the normal stuff. Normal stupidity with certain people that I work with, and then normal client interactions.
A certain Southern Belle.
I suppose that's one way to think about her is as a Southern Belle
or Southern Dumbbell.
Southern Hales Bales.
Oh.
Anyways, yeah. So you wanna roll the dice? Roll the dice there, buddy?
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're a little loaded.
Well, why don't you tell us all about it in the game you played this week, Rage?
So, this is actually one I've been playing on and off for actually quite a while and just never really felt like talking about it just yet. And honestly, I'm still early on in the content of it. Dicey Dungeons. I'm actually playing this over on the Switch. It was on sale for like $2 or $3, and it goes about that cheap on PC as well. It's really easy to pick up and play a game over there. So, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of Dicey Dungeons is that you play as a dice class, and it's framed as a game show run by Lady Luck, okay? And different people enter the dungeons for different reasons. Like, the one person never wants to sleep again, so they could do get so much more work done during the day. One just wants a monster truck, right?
I like that one. That's my favorite.
One wants a bunch of money, and they get turned into different classes of dice. So, like, I think the monster truck guy is the warrior. The person that never wants to sleep again turns into a robot. There's an inventor there's something that he wants that all of them have like an end goal that they want, and they get turned into a dice. And if you're able to successfully navigate the dungeon, you get to spin the wheel, and if you're lucky, keyword if, you get your wish and it comes true. You're never lucky. You always lose, and you have to run the dungeon again. And each class has 6 episodes. The furthest I've gotten is the robot. And all the different classes play very, very, very differently. So, this is a dice game, obviously. And each class has sort of end goals for how they play. So, warriors want to roll big and have big attacks. The thief wants to actually have the exact opposite. Low numbers and with a lot of combos and splitting of dice. The robot technically doesn't roll dice. He does. He rolls dice, but they go towards a CPU counter. And if you go over that, let's say you roll 2 6s and your CPU is a 10 limit, the robot errors out and causes most attacks to disappear, and you have to end your turn. There are some equipments that you could get that circumvents that, but yeah, right. The witch, who her big dream is to get a bunch of followers on Instagram, and it's very stereotypical, like e-girl, Instagram, TikTok person, right?
Right.
One of those, right?
Is it literally Instagram, or is it
It's totally not Instagram, right?
Okay, I gotcha.
And and talking about her essential oils and her crystals and that sort of thing. She gets 4 spell slots, and each roll of the dice unlocks a spell that you can put in one of those slots. So each number makes it so that is triggers a spell that you can put in the slot, or actually utilizes the spell, which, depending on the spell and the strength of the spell, could have different restrictions to it. Like, it could require a certain, like, above a certain number, it might require odd or even, or it might need that exact number for particularly powerful ones. There's the inventor that, as after each battle, you're compelled to break down a piece of equipment into a gadget that is a free-to-use, very powerful item that's used for exactly one battle, and then discarded, and you take apart another piece of equipment to build another one. And it's just a very interesting aesthetic to and game mechanics into this oddball dungeon crawler roguelite. Like I said, all the classes play very differently. I haven't actually beaten the game with all the classes yet on their introductory level. And each episode introduces more things. So, like episode 2 or 3 for the warrior curses him so that every time you attack, there's a 50% chance that it just does nothing. But then the curse is lifted for that turn, and you get it reapplied to you on the next turn. So it comes into, okay, so do I risk doing a small action here, or trying for something big, or if you have it where you're very close to killing something, do you risk it, right?
Right.
The robot has one where if they roll the same dice that they already have in their hand, uh, you're rolling individual dice for as the robot. Like if you have a 2, if you roll again and you get another 2, it just disappears and it still counts to your CPU. So it comes into more order of operations. And also being careful with dice manipulation, which is mechanics, different things for different classes. So, like the thief will have where they could split dice into like turn a 6 into like a 4 or 2. And there's some randomness on what you get there, where it just because it could turn into a 3 and a 3 doesn't mean that it will. It could be a 4 and a 2 or a 5 and a 1, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's the warrior that has the opposite, where some of their abilities that they could get through chests that they find in the dungeon and that sort of thing bumps dice up. The robot doesn't really have those mechanics. Instead, they, like I said, have the error-proof stuff where they'll have like a single attack that will still be available even if they trigger the error mechanic. And if you happen to for this robot, what I find interesting about them is if you hit the CPU exactly, and there's some abilities that make it so it's a range, you get essentially a limit break, which all the different classes have different limit breaks as well, where the warrior, I think, repeats the same action twice. So if you have this big, powerful attack and you hit your limit break, which is a toggle, by the way, it's not like Final Fantasy where you limit break and you suddenly flip out and you get Goku here. You trigger it and you have a particular effect. The robot, it'll do an auto roller where it rolls to your CPU limit. And then you can heal, you can throw one last free dice, or you can do direct damage. And I know I'm all over the place because this game is very chaotic at times. There is a method to the madness, and if you stick with a class for long enough, you start to pick up little tricks and quirks about them.
Yeah.
I've really gotten nowhere with the witch so far, just because she's so different from all the other classes, and I find actually to be one of the more difficult ones. Her and the inventor are the two that I've played the least, just because the inventor is also very counterintuitive to how you'd normally play, where you want to build up equipment, get a good repertoire, and maybe swap out for stuff. Because you could see the entire floor of the dungeon, and you go through 5 different floors and do a boss battle. And I'm not sure if the boss battle is always the same. I know for the robot, the 3 bosses I've fought with him so far, or boss battles, it's been the same ones, but it's been it's to throw you off your track as well, because you're fighting a vampire and you have to replace one piece of your equipment with a wooden stake. And you have to hammer the point home to finish them off. Quite literally in that case.
That's cute. I like that.
There's a very interesting sense of humor. It's very wacky. Like the weapon upgrade person is this little child who is just hammering away on a piece of gear, and is like, "Oh, it's you're at it again, huh? Well, okay. What do you want upgraded?" And the upgrades are free, or at least usually, depending on the rule set. And there's a lot of nuance as well. Like there's a particular enemy called the Alchemist who has an ability to turn into a bear. All right. But
Okay.
the thief can steal that ability and turn into a bear for themselves for the entire run. And it completely changes how they play as well. And also the thief can steal equipment occasionally, depending on the run and different rule sets.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of content here for the price tag. This is also the same developer that did VVVVVVVV. So, and Super Hexagon. I think you're familiar with Super Hexagon at least.
Yeah, and VVVVVV.
So, a very strong pedigree for it. I would actually highly recommend this game for anybody that's interested in roguelites. It is on Game Pass as well. Not sure how much longer it's going to be on Game Pass because it's been on there for a while, and they are starting to cycle off older games for new stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely worth a try. Probably my only real criticisms of it is, one, it is very luck based, which can I mean, it's right in the title, dice, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the dungeons are static for each episode. So if you're running the same thing or the same class and episode over and over again, you are going to hit the same things, but it also gives a chance to try different strategies. But there are variants as well where there's like a trading post that will trade a piece of gear for a different piece of gear, and that seems a different item every time. The level ups, they're usually static, but then you have some that are choice based, and you have enough enemies in the dungeon to hit max level. But sometimes you don't want to do that because the rule set might make it so that you actually lose health, right?
If you're max level?
No, there's a rule set for a couple of the classes on one of the episodes where instead of gaining health when you level up, you lose health.
Oh.
And the health is also carried over between fights until you level up, then it's reset. So it becomes a game of, okay, do I want to risk fighting this enemy to get to a chest that might have something in it? Or just go down a floor and fight something to progress through the dungeon. And there's also one other class that I haven't unlocked yet that I don't actually know the unlock mechanic for it. And even the Switch version has a save state unlocker or save state changer. So you can go in and if you're absolutely stuck on a particular episode, just say, okay, I'm done. And set it to completed so you could move on to something different. Which is a nice little addition, especially for a roguelite, which can be extremely difficult.
Yeah.
So definitely worth checking out. I'm trying to find the historic low on here.
I have sorry, I was just looking at the Dicey Dungeons Steam page.
Mm-hmm.
I've wanted to play this game for a while.
Yeah, according to this, it's actually dropped down to about $7.50 on Steam.
Okay.
And I think I picked it up for cheaper over on Switch. So that's one of the few times that it feels like you'll get a really good deal on Switch, huh?
Yeah. I've wanted to play Dicey Dungeons for a while just because I think it looks really cute.
Yeah, it's $2.99. During the new year, it hit a historic low of $2.99.
Yeah.
And it seems like every time it's on sale, it goes lower. So maybe next time it'll be like free.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Okay, I'm joking on that one. I would say at least try it on Game Pass if you have it.
Yeah.
Because it's worth at least checking out, especially if you're a fan of the genre. Because it does some weird things with the mechanics.
Yeah.
And the fact that the classes are so different. I cannot emphasize just how different the classes play. it's one of those that if you try to go into it with a different mindset than what the class really highlights, you're going to have a bad time, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, well worth checking out.
Cool beans. I'll have to check it out on Game Pass before it goes away. So my game this week, Unlimited. I've been playing this off and on for a bit with my kid. You bought it for me / for us as a Christmas present with the intent that King and I would play it together.
Yeah, I figured you would, so.
And we have done so. Typically how we play is that I can type way faster than him. And so he will use the mouse, which is more or less you point and click for your little guy to run to wherever you need to on the map and can interact with everything by clicking on it. So he'll point and click stuff, and then I'll type, and we'll each discuss like where to go and what to do. So Scribblenauts, for anyone who doesn't know, is a series that's been around for a while. The original was that you were just like this kid who had a magic notebook that whatever you quote unquote wrote in the notebook became real. And it's a puzzle game that are fairly open-ended puzzles where that you would have to solve them to collect a star or a number of stars in the puzzle by using your creative problem-solving skills to do them. So let's say that there's a star that's on just like floating in midair. As it's just flat puzzle, star floating in midair. You can choose to solve it in a number of ways. You could, for example, type in jetpack, and a little jetpack will spawn, and you put it on your dude, and you fly up and you grab the star. Or you could do airplane, and an airplane will spawn, and you get in your airplane, you fly, and you collect the star. You could do ladder, and you might need multiple ladders, but you could stack them on top of each other and climb up to it. You could create like a staircase and buildings, and you could climb up staircases to the top of a building and then spawn another staircase and climb up and so on and so forth until you got the star. There are a number of ways you could choose to solve the puzzle. The problem where that came in was, and I'm not sure, how much of this was down to developers or how much of it came down to just, you can solve a lot of problems with a jetpack. Because the original I'm not sure how many games exist in this series. I know I've played 3 different ones prior to Scribblenauts Unlimited. But anyways, an issue that came up was that a lot of puzzles could be solved with the same couple of solutions. And yes, you could go back and you could be more creative, but a lot of puzzles could be solved with, jetpack and maybe like a gun or, like a skeleton key to unlock all the doors. But they were still fun, nonetheless. And as the game went on, the puzzles got more and more creative, more and more in-depth. The types of levels expanded. There might be, combat levels now. Or levels where you have to, there's a rampaging, or not rampaging, but there's, an unhappy creature, maybe like a grumpy lion who attacks people. And you have to solve the puzzle without killing the lion. So, it's like, well, what would calm down a lion? And you could feed it, or you could pet it, or you could give it a lion friend. There are different ways to solve these puzzles. And
let the lion fuck. That will calm it down.
Well, I mean, it's a game for kids, so there's no fucking, but little hearts appear above the head. So, the fucking is implied, right? But so anyways, the game
implied.
But as time went on, the puzzles developed, but they got a little bit more specific. And ultimately, I think it served the game well. Well, Scribblenauts Unlimited introduces, I guess you could say, open world elements. It's the first one that I have played that has got a big overarching story. You and your sister are the next in line of this family who gets the magic notebook that you can write in and things appear. But you're kids and you didn't earn it, so you're a little prick and you are going around pranking people because you're a piece of shit, and you prank a wizard, and the wizard curses your sister, and now she's turning into a stone statue. And so you have to go around the world solving people's problems to get the magic stars in order to break the curse on your sister, who has been turned into a stone statue. And
an ugly one at that. Oof.
Yes. And so you go around and you collect the stars by solving the puzzles, but it's got an open world element to it, and you unlock more and more levels as you play. So, for example, it starts out pretty small. You're on like a farm. You're solving farm problems. Feed the animals, help grow some crops, fix a fence, that kind of stuff. Then you unlock a city that has got multiple things inside of it. So there's the big overarching city, and there are, little people walking around, and you can click on them to see what problems they have, and you can help solve their problems for stars. You can solve like big overworld problems. There's puzzle areas that you can enter. So for example, in the city level, you can go inside of a museum, and the museum has got a number of puzzles that you need to solve. And it's like, complete the artwork. And
Okay, I use jetpack.
you can solve some of the problems with jetpacks, but not the complete the artwork puzzle, at least. But
that attitude.
It's really good and interesting, actually, and it's provided a lot of opportunities for me to talk to Keegan about different things. Because so for this puzzle, for example, you have to complete the artwork by placing an object within the painting that matches the painting. And so there's one that's themed around ancient Greece, and one that was for Egypt, and one that was a painting of the ocean. And we talked about, well, what things do you know of that were Greek? Like, what can we type in that will get something that grows in, or that goes in with the Greek painting? And then for the ocean, I mean, that one's pretty easy. It's like fish, boats, whatever. But, good opportunities for us to talk about things and for him to learn and improve his creative learning skills. And that's pretty much how the game progresses. You collect more stars, you unlock new areas. Some of them, we're maybe a quarter of the way through the game. We've got about 3/4 of the map unlocked. It lets you get, it opens itself up pretty quickly. I don't know how many stars you actually need to win, but it looks like that once you unlock everything, you win. You don't have to get all of the stars to win. So I'd imagine that you can go back and 100% it if you want to. But some of the types of areas that are there that we found so far are like, there's a medieval themed castle that's got, orcs and dragons and stuff. There's a restaurant that you have to go to.
Use the jetpack.
We did use the jetpack at the medieval castle, because one of the challenges, or one of the problems you had to solve was like, oh no, the goblin riders are attacking. You have to stop them or help the knights stop them. And we crafted a jetpack and gave it to a knight, because the knight was like, I need something to help me run down these orcs. And we gave him a jetpack. And so he gets in his jetpack and he's flying around with his jetpack, jousting the orcs. It's pretty neat. So, the game still keeps its creativity for what you can do to solve problems. It's good. I really enjoy it. We have a good time just joking around and talking and trying to solve puzzles. And sometimes I'm surprised at what works to solve a puzzle. Because my kid will suggest some really weird, random stuff. And number one, this stuff is in the game. And number two, like, it actually works to solve the problem. And sometimes my kid, okay, so there was like a clown that was like a creepy, it was like a creepy clown. And there was a kid that's like, oh no, the creepy clown is scaring me. Can you help me? And the thing is like, make the clown go away. And my kid goes, I want a rocket launcher. So we type rocket launcher in, and it spawns, and he blows the clown up. And the kid's like, yay, you made the creepy clown go away. And then there's a bully later on. And it's like, oh no, this kid is bullying me. Can you help me? My kid is like, I want a rocket launcher. He blew up the bully. And I'm like, okay, son. As much as we want to blow up bullies, in real life, we can't do that. And he's like, I know, Dad. Let me enjoy this. I'm like, okay, you can enjoy blowing up bullies in the game. That's fine. So that's my boy.
And then he attached the jetpack to the bully. Turns
Yeah.
out bullies don't survive very long in space.
Nope. So, yeah, Scribblenauts Unlimited. Really fun game. Continuing on sort of the idea of Scribblenauts and, the weirdness that you can do with it, the fun ways that you can solve puzzles, and then giving it a little bit of an open world feel and a little bit of a linear story hook. It's really, really good. I started a second game where I've been playing a little bit by myself because I like playing with my kid, but he's still quite young, and sometimes problems take a lot longer to solve than I would like to do, and that gets kind of frustrating for me, honestly. So I've started a second game where I'm playing by myself and trying to find different ways to solve problems. You can do some really odd multi-step solutions. This one allows you to add adjectives. I don't know if this is new to this game in particular, but it's definitely new since the previous Scribblenauts game I had played, where you can add adjectives to things. So, one of the things that you need to do on the barn level, for example, is you have to help a farmer win the vegetable growing contest, and you can do different things to your vegetable. And the easy way to make it win is to make it a giant pumpkin by adding the adjective giant, and it grows really big on screen. But you can also make it shiny. You can make it fancy. You can make it attractive.
So does the fancy one have a little top hat and a monocle?
The fancy one. So fancy for most things does one of two things. It either makes them sparkly and reflective, or it gives them a top hat and a monocle. It actually makes them fancy. And it depends, because if you click on an inanimate object to make it fancy, it usually makes it sparkly. But if you give the fancy adjective to a person, if it's a guy, it gives them a suit and a top hat, and a monocle or glasses. And if it's a gal, it gives them a fancy dress and makes their hair poofy. And a top hat and a monocle. No, it does not, unfortunately. I wish fancy just gave stuff top hats and monocles. That's all it did. That would be great. But you can make it attractive, and it has little hearts that pop up over its head, and everyone's ooh in the crowd, and he wins. I'm oh, they made it sexy. But that's a lot of fun. The adjectives. So it is quite enjoyable. We have had a great time playing it. So thank you very much for that Christmas gift. We have enjoyed it quite a lot.
I thought it'd be an interesting one. What can I say?
Yeah, you thought right
for once.
But yeah, that's it for games we played this week. Ready to move on to do the news?
Indeed. So there's been some chaos going on over at City Skylines, huh?
Indeed. Yeah, so City Skylines mod chaos. So tell us about this.
This is a couple of stories kind of mixed together, because there was talks about this last week, I think. I saw something pop up about it, but there wasn't enough info. Yep. So I kind of skipped over it. Essentially, a douche of a mod maker has been posting forks of popular mods on the Steam workshop for a while. And the primary one has been a redo of the Harmony mod, which is a script extender, if I recall correctly. And pretty much a requirement for, most of the big mods. Well, their version of Harmony would also make it so that certain other mods that he's also made forks for would error out, and the big solution was, use his version of them. Because, right? And it seems that he was, targeting particular developers and City Skylines users. I have no idea the reason, because there's none given on any of the articles I've seen. It's just, him being a dick. And two, opening up the possibility of a backdoor attack. So the version of Harmony that he was releasing had a hidden auto updater that would pull stuff from GitHub, which is a big no-no in the terms of service for the Steam Workshop, and opens up a big vulnerability. And it kind of makes me a little nervous about just how crazy some of the mods can be on the Steam Workshop, huh?
Yeah, and wait, you're saying go into GitHub is against the terms of service? Getting stuff from GitHub?
The auto updater was a terms of service violation.
Oh, okay.
And the fact that it was targeting a GitHub is kind of beyond the point, it seems. Or that might be part of it as well. There's, like I said, there's not a ton of info still on this. But this was a game club game, and I know at least a few in the community or at least were pretty big City Skylines players. So this is kind of a public service announcement as well.
Right.
People have looked, and it seems like there's no key loggers or anything going on. It was stopped before it got to that point. And that's the going to be the first link in this. There was no actual malware. It was just opening up a vulnerability to do it later on, potentially. Or possibly create a botnet in DDoS. There's been a lot of speculation because, it kind of got... the cover was blown before, the big... invasion of the Ukraine, right? A little
political news there. I've been listening to a lot of NPR lately, and every day they talk about the Ukraine.
Yeah, my Facebook feed's popping up. Shame the president doesn't care that much about the southern border, huh?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm not going to dignify that with a response.
Hitting a little too close to home on that one.
Indeed. I haven't even been on my Facebook in a few days, so I'm sure somebody or many somebodies on there have had many things to say.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw on LGR's channel, I think it was last week. It's been pretty recent.
The expansion being a little lackluster.
Yeah, and I hadn't thought about City Skylines in a while. I've thought about it since our game club, but and then boom, two things popping up. I mean, one of them seems like a lackluster expansion, and then the other is potential, pretty big vulnerabilities with a modder.
Going rogue.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with City Skylines is, it's going the Paradox model, where, it's a bunch of small expansions and DLC packs. But also, a fair number of the DLC packs have fallen essentially the same framework now.
Yeah.
Where it's you zone an area and essentially create a mini supply chain in that area and either lure people or lure industry into that area to level it up, and then you're done. I mean, I could think of, let's see, there's colleges that does it, there's the industry areas, there's the parks. That's all essentially the same framework. And it sounds like the airport DLC is doing the same thing. On top of a lot of aesthetic issues that LGR had, where it doesn't look nearly as good as any of the stock plop down airports, which is weird, right?
Yeah, that is weird. But also, I think that's understandable. I mean, visual taste is very subjective.
Well, he's bringing up things like having it where it looks like it's just a bunch of buildings connected by roads instead of an actual airport with covered tarmac. Because you can't paint over the area, which I think is a legitimate problem if it's right.
Yeah, and I don't think he's wrong to complain. I'm not saying he can't complain. But
Come on, he's LGR. Of course he could complain.
Right.
And Thrift. Don't forget Thrift.
Yeah. Sometimes he does both at the same time.
And wood panel.
I love his wood panel stuff. Love a good wood panel. But yeah. And I mean, it's going back to earlier, like I don't, generally speaking, I would say that most people are not a problem, but whenever you have vulnerability like this, there's always going to be some asshole or some small group of assholes that are going to seek to exploit it. And with City Skylines being a game that I don't think it relies as much on its mods as some other games do, it's very, very, very popular with modders and the player base for how many mods exist for it.
I would say that it's not as bad as the Elder Scrolls, but there are some mods that feels like practically required to have say Skylines run in a decent degree, like some of the traffic managers and such.
Yeah, because
there is a little bit of an issue with how it handles traffic, ironically enough, considering this is the same developers that did Cities in Motion.
Yeah,
where it just doesn't utilize roads like it should. And part of that is just because of how it models its traffic, where it goes from an A to B routing, and then it never deviates. And part of that's just because the engine can't really keep up with a ton of cars doing constant recalculations. So you'll have it where you'll have everybody want to go on the interstate to this particular exit, and because they want to get off at this exit, they'll go over to the slow lane and just stay there. So you'll have, a highway with one lane being used and a traffic jam, miles long because, right?
Yeah, I have a really big, 4 or 6 or 8 lane highway. Only one lane gets used. I remember that. Mm-hmm. I remember that problem because I didn't use as many mods when we did it for Game Club. I did a few, but
which things like that does lessen the degree. It can still happen, but there's things that it'll occasionally cause a car to recalculate its route. So if there's like a big traffic jam, they'll try to avoid it. Yep, like a sensible person would, right?
Yep. I had to try to avoid a traffic jam this morning. On a slightly related but mostly tangential note, there was there were 2 wrecks when I was taking my kid to school this morning that I had to route around. That's it. There's no like major story, no like craziness or as far as I know, deaths or anything. Just like, oh hey, that car's in the ditch. And it looks like that truck is in the ditch too, probably because he was looking at the car who was in the ditch and he drove off the road.
Whoops.
Like, yeah. Whoopsie. But okay. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to add. Just a neat, well, not neat, but interesting little story.
Kind of exposes a vulnerability really in the Steam Workshop as well, where you are putting a lot of trust in some of these people.
Yeah.
And for games like RimWorld, where I have a ton of mods installed for it because I need help and please stop. But it's kind of crazy, and I'm sure we'll see more development on this one in the coming months and years, because something that big, it tends to cause legal issues. Right?
Yeah. Yep. You are, I think.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, and I think there's a sticky over on the City Skylines subreddit that highlights exactly what mods, but it's pretty much just popular mod name, remaster or redone or whatever. That was his version that was doing it, and actually some of the mods are still up because Steam is very sluggish when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah.
So time for somebody for another whoopsie.
Yeah. Newegg will now accept open box returns, quote, no questions asked, end quote.
Yeah, this one
So,
is kind of gaming adjacent, but it's also a hardware retailer, so right.
yeah. So Newegg has got a customer service problem in that they have really shitty customer service.
And they screwed over the wrong customer this time.
They did. They managed to screw over a really big tech YouTuber or tech YouTube reviewer, Gamers Nexus, who I was slightly like whenever we talk about this before recording, I had seen some of their stuff, so I'm kind of tangentially aware of them. And you said that you hadn't heard of them before.
I honestly don't go out on my way for tech YouTube, so I wasn't aware of them.
Yeah.
But checked out their stuff before really posting this and watching some of their videos, and actually really enjoyed them tearing into pre-built systems.
Yeah.
A friend of mine is looking at buying herself and her boyfriend a computer, and she was asking some suggestions on computers, and one of them that I saw pop up was this absolute joke of a $700 system on Amazon. And when I was looking at Gamers Nexus, I recognized that computer. So that was kind of my litmus test for them. Do they know their stuff? Because it was something like a decade old revision of a video card in it.
Yeah.
And they just tore into it. It was glorious. Talking about, well, it has RGB, so it has that.
Right. The go faster lights.
Mm-hmm. And they actually are doing some interesting stuff with the Steam Deck. So the big thing is, this is an ongoing story as of right now, but and a lot of this is one-sided. We want to highlight this. We know most of the story from Gamer Nexus side, and we have essentially apology.jpg and promise of changing policies from Newegg, which leads credence to what Gamer Nexus says, actually happens, huh?
Yep.
So do you want me to go through it since I've watched the videos?
Yeah, since you watched the videos and you walked me through it already, but go ahead and walk us through it.
Okay, so I think it was December or January, they bought a motherboard from Newegg, and Newegg has changed their website so that instead of having a big banner or badge on it saying open box, it's now this little tiny text under the title that if you're not looking for it could easily be overlooked. And they actually bought an open box motherboard. Well, this was for a build review that they were working on, and they were able to resolve whatever issue they needed while the motherboard was in shipment. So, as per Newegg's return policy, they were able to return it and actually never open the box, supposedly, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Newegg then rejects the return and says that the pins on this Intel motherboard, which if you're familiar with Intel motherboards, these are the ones that are extremely delicate when it comes to the CPU socket because it has the actual pins on the motherboard and not the chip. The pins were bent and that they would not refund them the $500 some. So they start going into, an investigation on Newegg's customer service, and they reach out to people on their Twitter and start having a back and forth with Newegg over the course of January, trying to figure out what's going on. And they just keep saying that the pins are bent. This is a damaged board, and there's also and using the quote thermal pate PATE on the item that it's obviously been used, and they cannot refund it. Mind you, this is also an open box item, and right. And also, this is a motherboard, thermal paste. Really? So they broke this story a little under a week ago, talking about they've been trying to reach out to Newegg and just this expose of what's happened and how Newegg has scammed them. Well, Newegg goes into full spin mode and trying to, beg forgiveness, realizing that instead of Random Joe, they pissed off somebody with 1.5 million followers on YouTube. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They poked the wrong bear. They refund the money and say that, okay, well, you can have the motherboard back. We can't do anything with it. So, on a follow-up video, they actually opened up the box that they got, and it has a giant RMA sticker from Gigabyte, the manufacturer of the board, that the previous owner, which was Newegg, RMA'd to return manufacturer authorization, essentially a return of electronics to the manufacturer to be repaired. Newegg had realized that this board was damaged, returned it to Gigabyte. Gigabyte, and this is information that they got from Gamers Nexus got from Gigabyte. They realized that this board is beyond an easy repair and would require essentially a full replacement of either the socket or just a full replacement of the board, and they were going to charge Newegg $100. Newegg rejected this and said, okay, well, we'll just take the board back and take it as a loss, and put it back on the shelf in the factory and sold it a few months later to Gamers Nexus. With the RMA sticker and information still on the motherboard.
Yep.
Oh. So now they're in California and are going to meet with a representative from Newegg in the next few days to hash out and have essentially an interview of what's going on. And this is not exactly an isolated case. There's been horror stories all over the internet about Newegg for the last several years. I'm actually a little shocked that it's taken this long. For them to hit the wrong person, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Newegg has had customer service issues for a long time. I went and I looked at my order history. So you and I, we talked about this beforehand. And the most recent purchase that I remembered was from 2017, where that I had ordered a monitor from them, and they sent me the same brand and the same model, but it was a different year of the model, or it was one sort of number off. And the difference was that I wanted a monitor that had DisplayPort, and this monitor that they sent me did not have DisplayPort. It was in the correct box, but the monitor itself was the wrong monitor.
So somebody pulled a switcheroo.
Yeah, or there was some kind of mistake made. I don't want to necessarily assume it was malicious, but something happened. And it took me a week of me being like, no, this is the monitor that I ordered, and I got the box that was right, but the monitor that's wrong. So, fix it. And it took me a week to get that fixed. It turns out I've bought one thing from them since, but I had forgotten about it. So it was just a USB hub that they had a really good deal on I wanted one. And that was 2 years ago.
I haven't had a issue with Newegg customer service, but I also have been avoiding them more often than not. Mostly just due to some of the stories, but also they haven't had very good deals compared to other things.
Yeah.
It's getting hard to compete with, honestly, Amazon and Walmart.
Yeah.
Which I know that's, not exactly a solution because, but Amazon has had a history of really good customer support. Now, let's see. Same price, store with horror stories, store that actually has gone out of their way to help me whenever I've had issues with stuff. Right?
Yeah. The only problem I have with Amazon is that I can't use PayPal on Amazon. and I use PayPal for most of my online purchases. But that's not like the biggest issue. That just keeps me from impulse buying things a lot. But
well, one thing that's nice is I'm on the Amazon shopper panel, so that's a little extra a month on there.
Yeah.
So knock $10 off something once a month, essentially. But it's just we're getting to the point where customers have a lot more power than what I think stores really realize these days. Especially, random Joe could have one hell of a Twitter following, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that it took them essentially creating a shitstorm for themselves, and this is not the only Newegg shitstorm this week. This is just the one we're talking about. There are also rumors about them stiffing their sponsorship deals, but that's a whole nother can of worms, right?
Yeah. So I think kind of what you're talking about here is something that a podcast I listen to calls the democratization of fame. That these random people, by having a good personality or being lucky or whatever, can amass these huge followers on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, etc. More platforms out there exist that I'm aware of, and there are new ones all the time, right? And so the odds get a lot higher. I mean, they're not like crazy high, but they get higher that somebody gets screwed over, or that a company screws over is going to have enough of a following that they can create enough of a stink that at the very least some small change or some token effort will be made. I'm I guess sounding a little bit kind of dismissive of it, but I mean, I do think that that's a good thing. Anything that can hold companies to account is a good thing. We need a lot more regulation and enforcement of regulation of companies in the world. It's not just an American thing. America is very bad at it, but worldwide, we need a lot more policing of corporate entities. And if, through the democratization of fame, if we can get enough people collectively putting their power and energy towards something to make positive changes for consumers, I think that's a good thing. And, sort of the counter argument of like, oh, well, if they would just focus their efforts on this thing or that thing, that would be, more helpful or whatever. Like, yeah, sure, maybe. But, any positive step is still a positive step.
Yeah, and also, this is something that really gets me and pops up quite often on the local news stories here. Whenever it's the government's talking about this. And yes, I'm getting political, Ken. Just because there's work on one particular thing doesn't mean that all work is laser focused on this one issue. Right? Just because you're reading a story about something doesn't mean that all work everywhere else has ceased, right?
Yep.
A group can work on making it so that consumers have rights and still have a different group working for having the environment not be fucked up, right?
Yeah.
They aren't mutually exclusive.
Yep. We are working on all things at once. And maybe, if we could focus our efforts on 2 or 3 things, it'd get done faster. But that's not how humans work. Mm-hmm. We all have different values, interests, talents, levels of privilege
you have
and power.
Talents?
Oh, yeah. I have some very good talents.
Right.
But, we all have these things, but they're all different. Unfortunately, sometimes people work either against their own interests or against the interests of others. But, that's the blessing and the curse of humanity. Sometimes it happens in a way that's beautiful, and sometimes it happens in a way that's unfortunately terrible. And we don't get to choose what that is. We just have to hope for the best. But instances like these, I think, are good. I think it's good to see people, get up in arms about something that's, quote unquote, a smaller thing. So, yeah, that's my thing for.
So it is
now.
funny to watch Newegg launch apology.jpg, and I'll already have it undermined. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
But yeah. Okay. You ready to go to the next one? The last one for the week, a news topic wise?
Yeah, how about something actually positive?
Yeah. You read this one. You go for it.
So Mario Kart 8 DLC courses will be playable online, even if you don't own them.
Yay.
So we're not going to talk about most of the entire thing, but one of the big highlights outside of, a new character being turned into a horror item, right?
Yeah.
Is the Mario Kart 8 getting DLC for the first time in, about a decade?
Yeah.
With 48 new courses being added, and Nintendo being actually surprisingly contemporary, not splitting their player base by allowing online play on these new courses, even if you don't own the pass. So they're doing essentially a season pass thing where the courses get released in waves starting actually next month. And in packs of 8 over the course of a year and a half ish.
Mm-hmm.
And as they're released, they're also going to be entered into the pool of available courses for online play. Well, they're not going to make it so that people that don't have this new season pass are locked out of these new courses. That's killed so many games over the years.
Yeah, splitting your player base like that has killed a lot of games.
I mean, I know Mario Kart is not exactly, a very small community. It's actually a massive, massive, massive community. I don't think it's the top seller. I think it's like 2 or 3. Or it might be the top seller. I know it's up there.
Yeah. I'm not sure on that one.
Now I need to check this one.
Do you know if they're actually 48 brand new tracks? Or are they...
So these are remasters and rehashes of previous tracks. From actually, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best-selling game for Switch.
Okay.
By actually a very large margin. Something like 5 million units sold to second place.
Gotcha.
And almost double of third place.
I was gonna say though, I'm assuming, or my assumption was that they were remakes or remasters of older tracks.
Some of them are from the mobile game, which is interesting. Basically, making it so that they're more proper titles or more proper tracks. And some of them are classics from like the N64 era. Actually, they released a list of the first 8. They're going to be releasing them in the different championships. And they'll be releasing 2 at a time. So it's... now I'm trying to find... Okay, so it's Paris Promenade from Mario Kart Tour, the mobile game. Toad Circuit from the 3DS. Chocho Mountain from the N64. Tokyo Blur, also from Tour. Ninja Hideaway from Tour. Sky Garden from the GBA. Coconut Mall from Mario Kart on the Wii. And Shroom Ridge on the DS.
I hated the Coconut Mall track. I didn't like that one. It's too busy.
Well, you get to hate it all over again if you play.
Yay. I haven't played.
I mean, I've put
Mario Kart 8
I put down Mario Kart 8 because I beat all the championships. I never really did a lot of online play. Yeah, maybe I should have, but right.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
but
not
yeah,
a big Mario Kart person. I mean, I like to play it with the right group of people, but I just won't play it by myself. Like, it's not bad. It's just not the type of game that I enjoy playing on my own. You know, like
okay,
Mario Kart is great, but only when I play it with friends and or family.
yeah. Well, I do play with Anita and whenever Braylon's over, so there is that.
Yeah.
But it's 8 courses over 6 waves for 48 courses. So I just wanted to, yeah,
Yeah.
make sure I have my numbers right.
Yeah. Well, Nintendo does what Nintendo do, I guess. And sometimes they do some bad things, and sometimes they do some stuff that really doesn't make any sense. But also sometimes they do some things that are good. And it's good to see them be like, no, we're not going to split our community, even though Mario Kart would probably survive if they did. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't seem like the
I
type of
mean,
game that
they've
would
sold
die.
as of December 31st, 2021, 43.35 million copies.
Only 43.35
Right.
million. Yeah.
Yeah, to put into perspective, Super Mario Odyssey is number 6 with 23.02. Or what's some other good ones on the list? I mean, Mario Odyssey was sort of the launch darling.
Yeah.
Super Mario 3D All Stars was just over 9 million. Although, that's discontinued now.
It's over 9 million. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Pikmin 3 Deluxe just over 2 million at 37th place. So definitely plenty of copies sold overall, right?
Yeah. Well, hey, good for them. Actually, good for them. Mario
Mm.
Kart's fun. Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably be picking this up when Wave 1 comes out, and we'll probably talk more about it. When those courses hit after I played them for a bit, it'll be interesting to see how the mobile courses are translated because they are, from everything that I've read online, a lot more simplistic than the traditional courses because you have to deal with mobile microtransaction bullshit
Right.
and very simplified controls. If I recall correctly, that's the one that you just steer and you have no braking and right.
I think that's what you said. I never played it. You played it and were like, this
Yeah,
is not good. And I was like, okay, I guess I won't play it.
I was just bored and frustrated with it because it was microtransaction hell, gotcha mechanics. It had the system, or at least it did when I played it, where you'd have to get the same gotcha pull over and over again to unlock the character. It did that fragment bullshit.
Yeah.
So being able to actually see those tours translated into a possibly something good, right?
Yeah. That would be
And
a positive.
there's also a precedent where they apply Mario Kart 8's big mechanic was anti-gravity, and they some of the legacy courses on that has been remastered so that that plays a part. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I have played Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U. The Switch, did they make big changes to it when it came to Switch?
Not particularly. It was pretty much the Switch version was essentially the base game of the Wii U plus the DLC.
Right. Okay.
With, I think, some extra amiibo functionality, but not a ton for some costumes. But it was basically, if you had it on Wii U and you didn't have it just collecting dust, there was little reason to pick it up until now.
Yeah.
Unless, you just didn't want to get the DLC, right?
Yeah.
Which the DLC, I think it was also adding several championships. So, it's just really strange to see Nintendo go back on this, and also, well, I talked about this before we started recording. I think this pretty much highlights that there's not going to be another Mario Kart until at least 2024 when this DLC package ends.
Yeah.
And at that point, I don't see them releasing it on the Switch at all. They've already said that the Switch is in the midway of its life, at its midpoint. So
yeah, I assume the 4K
add on,
Switch will be the last Switch.
I'm not sure if they'll do a 4K Switch, just because of the aesthetics of the games that played on it. You know,
I thought that the Switch 4K had already been confirmed for like holiday this year.
I could be mistaken on that.
To the Google.
There's developers that are making their games 4K compatible, but there's no hardware for it.
So the Nintendo Switch developers say they have 4K dev kits. 4K Switch model expected to arrive in 2022. This was from September 29th, 2021. It was a Polygon article.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like some developers had confirmed that they'd gotten a 4K Switch dev kit to work on developing native 4K games for the Switch.
I mean, the problem with 4K on the Switch is that the hardware is just, in my opinion, not there. They're going to have to do some serious revisions on it, or have it where it's severely limited on frame rate, which, that's an issue with Switch games now.
Yeah. I mean, the Switch games run better in handheld mode, I think, all the time. And in every game I've played runs better in handheld mode.
Well, that's because
it's running the games at 720 instead of 1080 in handheld mode.
Yeah, it's a good portion of less resolution, so right?
Yeah. And
also, it's a locked frame rate to 30 there most of the time. Is there any games that do 60 FPS in handheld?
Not that I'm aware of. There might be, but I don't know of any. But I mean, I'm waiting for the 4K one, and when the 4K one comes out, I'll probably upgrade to the OLED. I'll buy a secondhand OLED, because for all of the reasons you just said, I don't actually want a 4K Switch, but unless they do a major hardware revamp and up the power of it so that it can handle 4K, in which case I would get one, but I'm not interested in playing games at 4K. If it's like, oh, it'll output 4K to your TV, but it'll run 1080p in handheld mode, and it's a more powerful Switch, then that would make me happy, because I would just use it in handheld mode.
Yeah, it does look like there's like Rocket League runs at 60 FPS, but it's also running at a dynamic resolution as well. So that's how they're doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are some that do 60 FPS, but they're having to do a dynamic resolution to make up for it. So they would have to put more power under the hood for it to, in my opinion, work as 4K.
Yeah.
Unless it's just in docked mode, and then it's pushing more power and just overclocking the system. But even then, there's only so much you could do before you start hitting things like, the Switch catching on fire.
Right? What would be neat, and I don't think Nintendo would ever do this, but if they put secondary processing, like an external GPU or something in the dock that it switched over to when it was in docked mode. But I mean, one, I don't see Nintendo doing that because it's, a really complicated, expensive, second piece of hardware that if it gets lost or broken or whatever, would be really hard to justify the cost in replacing it, because the average consumer doesn't understand how expensive that is to do. And two, it's just complicated. Nintendo tends to do things the simplest way possible, even if sometimes that's like way out there, like I just feel like that would be too complicated for them.
And also compatibility. I mean, would it be only this new 4K Switch Pro, or whatever they would call it?
Yeah.
Or would it be any Switch that gets and the Switch Pro is essentially a booster dock, which then you start hitting some just what does the Switch put out through its USB-C port, right?
Yeah. Good point. All good points.
And Nintendo has been many things, but one of them is that they try to be as compatible with their current generation hardware as they can with other pieces of their hardware.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, very, very confusing names. So go just see the 3DS line of handhelds.
Yeah. 3DS, 2DS, 3DS XL, 2DS XL.
3DS MOUSE.
Yeah. They do make a habit of having confusing names. They're not the only one, though. That's a pretty common industry trait. Xbox's naming scheme is still baffling to me, but whatever works for them, I guess.
I'm pretty sure Xbox just hits a random number generator.
Yeah, and they can't make their minds up about which direction they want to go. Do we want more numbers? Do we want less numbers? Is bigger better? Lower? Who knows?
I know. Let's make the next one look like a cheese grater.
Right?
Oh. And then make a refrigerator out of it that, sucks. Oh. So, Do we have anything more to comment about Nintendo?
I don't think so. Do you have anything more to comment about Nintendo?
Not at the moment. I'm sure I will later on, though.
Right.
Probably not today, though.
Fair enough. All right.
Which does bring us to Community Corner, which we're kind of skipping this week, mostly because of Newegg, and we didn't want to dive into, or I didn't want to dive into another controversy with Best Buy.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to research this a bit more and find out some more information about it, which I didn't get a chance to. I had a busy day, what can I say? It was laundry day.
Right. All right. Well, where can they send us stuff if they want to?
Well, we'll do a big community episode next week, most likely. Which you can, actually, it'll be Game Club, so Game Club and catch up on the community stuff next week. You can send that to vgopodcast@gmail.com or drop by the Discord, which you can find a link to that over at vgopodcast.podbean.com.
Sweet. So, for the first time in a while, you want to go do a discovery queue?
Yeah, I'll let you doobly do.
All right, let's doobly do on over to the discovery queue. So, come on, what did you get right away? Because you were prepared.
Nebulous Fleet Command. Early access space fleet warship simulator.
Okay.
I mean, this looks really... this looks like early 2000s space sim.
I'm very interested in this.
Did I just cost you money?
You might have. Buying a house right now, though. I can't spend any money.
I mean, I'm just looking at some of the radar and simulation stuff further down the screen, and the damage modeling, and it just feels like there was this slice of time in the early 2000s when space sims were really, really, really popular on PC. Kind of kicked off with Freelancer. And Wing Commander and the such, late 90s, early 2000s, I guess I should say. And this feels like it would be right at home with that, but with hopefully some modern sensibilities. It is $20, and they are expecting to spend at least 2 years in early access.
Well, at least they're realistic about that.
Yeah, we'll be out in 3 months.
Yeah.
4 years later. And, I mean, it looks promising.
Yeah, it looks very promising. I am interested. I might be buying that, in the early access stage. Might hit up the Discord and help out. I got Monster Hunter Rise.
Yeah, I very nearly picked that up when it was on Switch, or Switch exclusive.
Yeah, Monster Hunter Rise is the next in line for the Monster Hunter series, following after... What was the previous Monster Hunter game?
World?
Monster Hunter World, yeah. And it follows the similar sort of way that Monster Hunter World approached its open worldedness, and its quest management and the multiplayer aspects, and has just added on to that in lots of new ways. I think it's added new weapons and new creatures and some other new features. From what I've heard, it's a good game. I haven't played it, and it's been out for a while now, so... Did it just come to PC? It says its release date is January 12th, 2022, but I know that it was on Switch.
It just came
for
to
a while.
PC. It was on Switch for quite a while.
Okay, yeah. So, very good looking game.
So, I got Diplomacy is not an option. A essentially mixture of city builder or town builder and in tower defense, where you build a feudal little kingdom and you're trying to hold off this massive horde of enemies. Sort of like an idea of there are billions, only in medieval times,
right?
Instead of post-apocalyptic zombies. I mean, the screenshots just show absolutely stupid numbers of enemy troops, and the idea is essentially try to hold them off. I mean,
well, that sounds pretty
very cutesy and over the top. It is a little expensive for early access title. It's getting into that kind of tough to justify $20 range without a lot of info about it. They do say that the game will be fully released this year, though, so this could be just late testing.
Yeah. With
the price to be increased later on. So, yeah. I've seen some info pop up about this on different gaming sites talking about it. So it looks like it's, pretty well received, at least initially, I should say. So, yeah.
Yeah, this looks pretty cool. I'm looking at it right now. But my next one is God of War.
Oh, no, you mispronounced that. It's Dad of Boy.
Dad of Boy. Yes, now I got God of War. Sony, over the last few months, has been adding, some of their PlayStation exclusives to PC, and then some more, and God of War showed up. It's the God of War remake, spiritual successor, weird side story. I don't want to spoil too much. I know quite a bit about this game, even though I haven't played it. Because I am a fan of the older God of War games. I've played the original trilogy on PlayStation. I think that they're quite good. And this is a departure from the sort of more classic hack and slash gameplay of the original trilogy, but it's diving into a much deeper storytelling, and expanding upon it and going to Norse mythology, which is very cool. I hope that the God of War series becomes Kratos just like going from religion to religion, like slaughtering all of their gods and religious figures. That would be super cool.
I've seen that cartoon.
Right?
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I'm drawing a blank right now though, but but anyways, so yes, God of War.
Now I'm trying to find the animation. There was only one god that he refused to kill. Do you remember that one?
No, I don't remember that one.
There was one god. Morgan Freeman. So I got another very retro feeling game. Sort of a modern take on this time NES era kind of action RPG game. Infernax. Sort of essentially a spiritual prequel to the old Castlevania games. Or in the line of the old Castlevania games, where it's an action platformer high difficulty, trying to unravel the mystery of this curse that's been put upon the land. It has, like I said, this aesthetic of old school NES game, but then it has the really nice cutscenes that you would have never seen in those days, right?
Yeah.
Along with some moral choice and branching pathways and multiple endings, supposedly. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I got War Tales. I'm dropping a link right now. War Tales. War Tales is an open world RPG game that has got turn-based tactical battles. Looks like it's sort of a big sort of adventure style like treasure hunt, where that you're a mercenary band who's looking for riches and trying to find hidden treasure, which I'm all about. Looks like you can manage your merc company and your soldiers and outfit them and level them up, and they get skills and you get skills, and I love this sort of thing. So if it's any good, I will definitely enjoy it. Looks like it released in December of last year. Right now it's 20% off. That's cool. Pretty expensive though. $35 normally. Right now it's $28. So I guess they believe it's good too.
So I picked up another very retro feeling early access game after having to skip a couple of porn games because, right?
Right.
I haven't done Discovery Queue in a while, so I guess they built up. So Super Dungeon Maker. So this is an action RPG once again, mixed with a creation tool of making dungeons. So you can either run the dungeons yourself or create them and release them for the community to deal with.
That sounds neat.
It doesn't have workshop support directly, so it must be uploading to something different. It is early access though, but doesn't look like there's loot creation in this. It must be handled by the game itself instead. They're releasing it on the Switch, so they aren't going to have the Steam Workshop directly. So it's going to be their own third-party mod.io. Which, that's fine. That makes it so they'll be compatible across both. I was looking into discussions and I saw that one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah, I mean, with a Switch port on this, that should have a pretty good community on it, most likely. And it looks like there's some really creative stuff that you can do with this, just based off the few screenshots. It is early access, but it's also pretty cheap overall. And looks like they're in final, essentially build of it, doing just feedback and final tweaks. They're expecting 6 months, but they make it sound like it's a lot further along than what a lot of these early access projects say whenever they say, "Oh, we'll be out in 6 months."
Yeah.
So what you've got?
Yeah, so I got Lost Ark. This is specifically the Lost Ark starter pack, but this is a free-to-play, Lost Ark, that is, free-to-play ARPG, that's, I don't know. I've seen some stuff about this. Some friends in my D&D group, or not my D&D group, my tabletop group, want to play it, because it's free and it would be something that we could play together if we have like an off night where we can't do tabletop stuff. I don't traditionally like this type of game, so I don't know. I mean, since it's free, I'm more likely to try it than if it costs money. But it's an online ARPG style game. I've seen it compared quite a bit to Diablo, but with some much more anime-esque tones. Where the breasts are exposed for your pleasure, and notice me senpai are present. So I don't know.
Looks like it has some nasty reviews on Steam though.
Yeah, I'm noticing that.
Looks
who
like
knows?
some people are less than impressed with its quests.
Looks like, let's see, according to this, it says the game went from overwhelmingly positive to mixed reviews due to server issues and review bombing. At least that's according to this one person, Sweet Baby Tyler, or Taylor, Sweet Baby Taylor's. So,
I like this review. It can be played with the keyboard and mouse as well as a USB credit card reader.
Right? I mean, that's just about any free-to-play game, for worse or for worse.
Yeah.
Oh, that's some rough animation. I'm watching one of the trailers, and it's like a horse is like running at, a full tilt gallop and is like barely moving. It looks really weird.
Which one? Because there's like half a dozen different ones.
Yeah, it's the third trailer is the one that I'm looking at. But yeah, I'll probably wind up being peer pressured into trying this at some point. So I guess I'll talk about it whenever that happens. But not usually my type of game. But who knows? I've been, proven wrong before and really enjoyed something I didn't think I would. So
okay, so who's ready for some Lovecraftian French Revolution?
I didn't know I was before you said that, but now I'm definitely ready for it.
So Libre, or Liberati, or I don't know the proper pronunciation of that. A story-driven, top-down roguelike set in an alternate history Lovecraftian version of the French Revolution.
Okay.
That's a hell of a sentence to start with, huh?
That is a hell of a sentence to start with.
So this looks like very Diablo-esque in its gameplay. Loot-focused. Well, technically not loot-focused because it's using a card and deck system where your abilities are tied to cards and with different mana usage or skill point usages or whatever they're actually using on this. And you're dealing them out sort of like Slay the Spire. Only in an ARPG with proper boss fights. And I mean, this looks really interesting. What can I say, right?
Yeah.
Along with, looks like an actual pretty decent story overall with multiple branching paths possible. And they are saying that there is a story mode. So those that just want to enjoy the story and not deal with the roguelike shenanigans can do that, which fine, right?
Yep.
I will say that some games do lose what their kind of attractiveness. Yeah, their whole attraction is essentially for sadists, but right, there's nothing lost if they actually build it for some sort of story mode. So right,
yeah. Okay. So here's what I got for the rest of my queue. I'm just gonna give you a quick rundown. I got 2 more Lost Ark starter packs. I got Diplomacy is not an option. Then I got Super Dungeon Maker. Then I got Liberté, whatever. And then I got generic, crappy 3D porn games for the rest of my queue. So that was my queue. How many games do you have left on your queue?
I have 3, not counting this one that I'm pasting in now.
All right, I'm gonna start another queue, and let's see if I get anything interesting out of this queue.
So I got Not Tonight 2. Essentially take Papers, Please, but you're a bouncer with some political overtones as well on this. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of Papers, Please, but it could be really an interesting secondary thing onto a rather mundane task. So, all right.
Yeah. Is that it? Is that all you're gonna say?
Yeah. I don't have a lot to say on this one, particularly because I didn't play the first one.
Yeah.
And looks like that's pretty much all they've developed was Not Tonight and Not Tonight 2, which I do have the first one on wishlist, and it is actually pretty cheap right now. Interesting.
So I got Motor Town Behind the Wheel, a quote relaxing open world driving game where that you can deliver cargo and drive passengers to earn enough money to buy race cars and parts. It looks cute, just a cute sort of blocky, voxely art style representation. Some classic cars, a Chevelle, some school buses, trucks, a Buick Regal. It looks cute, and I like cute, fun driving games, and I like to deliver cargo and passengers. So this could be a lot of fun. It's not too expensive. It's $15. Slightly out of impulse buy range. Currently, it's in early access. Let's see. Plan to be 1 to 2 years.
I just finished my queue, and there was absolutely nothing on it.
Okay, let's see. Lightning round. Porn game. I don't know what that is, so we're gonna keep going.
I started another one because why the hell not?
Hearts of Iron expansion pack. Porn game. Man, it's been a while. Porn games are piling up on me. Porn game.
Obviously. Distant Worlds 2, 4X Space Strategy, releasing next month with lots of customization as well. So
nice. I had another porn game. Ooh, wait. Space Engineers expansion. Warfare. $4. Hang on. Space Engineers Warfare 2. Looks like they copied some of the most popular mod content around combat and are selling it. Increased guns, ammunition types, weapons, targeting and tracking systems. All of this stuff I've seen in mods. Added new camo, new paints, and rock, paper, scissors? Okay, sure. Why not? Rock, paper, scissors.
Well, it depends on who gets sent on the suicide mission.
Touche. So yeah, there you go. Space Engineers.
So I got Above Snakes.
Okay.
A isometric survival crafting farming game. I mean, it looks interesting. Releasing soon. There's not a lot of info about it. A roguelike long-term progression system with high replayability value. So, right, or at least according to them. With cooking, hunting, fishing, and more. This feels almost like there was a game that released in the 2000s. It's been updated over the years called Unreal World, where it's essentially a simulator of like prehistoric times with a bit of fantasy thrown in for good measure. It feels a bit like that, only with a proper UI instead of it being all like pseudo text based and very rough graphics. Oh god, this game feels racist as fuck. It's been a while since I've seen an outright racist game.
Well, there you go. I guess. Is this the same one or is this a new one?
This is a new one.
Okay, so I got one before you go. Dial Town, the phone dating sim where you play, you guessed it, phones. This game looks weird as hell, but maybe not in a good way? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't even want to name this game because it just feels wow. Let's just put it this way. It talks about pigs roasted and you play as a black guy with a bunch of gold chains on. I mean, it's just damn, right?
I see. Ooh.
I just got the phone dating sim. Oh.
So this is called The Monster Breeder. Looks like it's an medieval fantasy like RPG game where you breed monsters and make them fight each other. That seems to be it. It looks, graphically speaking, it looks kind of atrocious, but gameplay wise, it could be really neat. $20.
Yeah, I'm looking at something real quick.
Oh, that's a racist game right there.
Does it have a shirtless black guy?
It does.
That's probably the one I saw.
Probably. That's, yep, racism. 98 cents. No, thank you. I do not want to contribute to your racism.
Considering it's also on sale for 1%.
Yeah.
But hey, you can
How do you report a game for racism on Steam? How do you do that?
I'm sure that it's something in the flagging. It has to be, right?
Flag. Report this product. All of them. Contains... How about defamatory? This is racist.
As fuck.
As fuck. Report.
You see why I didn't want to name it now, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I got another porn game.
Well, I got a dinosaur game.
The breasts are very exposed for your pleasure in this porn game.
Out of Your, a evolution ecosystem survival game where you're a dinosaur trying to essentially survive essentially Jurassic Park. It looks interesting. It is early access, and supposedly the game is very simplistic right now. I imagine your kid would love it, especially if there was trains.
Probably. And I got another porn game, although this was an emphasis on the game as opposed to the porn.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those pop up where it's, actual game with porn in it instead of, just, right?
Yeah. That's my cue again.
Yeah, I'm right at the end of mine. Oh, well, there's another porn game. Horror game, meh, right?
Yep.
And, hang on, give me just a moment on this one. Well, it doesn't have tits in it, but how about mecha?
I like mecha.
Well, what about the lack of mecha tits?
I mean, it could be better.
Nimbus Infinity. So this is the sequel to Project Nimbus.
Mm-hmm.
A mecha action game set in a post-apocalyptic world, right?
Very fancy.
I mean, it is early access. There's no reviews on this yet. It looks like it just released today. So, all right.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't look bad. I mean, it looks very derivative of, mecha games, right?
Yeah.
I would say probably stick with its predecessor for now, at least. It has some pretty good reviews on it. And it looks, obviously a lot more finished. Because, right?
Yeah.
But that's also early access title that just released versus game that's, seen its full release. And it's only $10 there, so. But, possibly one to keep an eye on. And that's my secondary queue done. Because, why the hell not? I wanted a secondary queue.
Yep. All right.
And we also have to pad out the lists again because, we just reset the discovery queue lists. So, yeah. We need titles for them.
Ooh, titles. All right. Hey,
Rach. No
Rach.
titties because no porn games.
Right. The breasts cannot be exposed for our pleasure on our podcast. They can be exposed for our explicit pleasure because this is a an audio medium.
Well, I wish you would put your shirt back on because damn.
Never. You can't make me. But, Hey, Rage, why don't you hit him with them socials?
Oh, I've been Caffeine Rage. You can find me occasionally tweeting over at Gaming with CR, or if you wish to be my friend on Steam, you can find me Caffeine Rage. And you've been?
Me. I've been me. I don't know what to call anymore because I'm gonna stop plugging YouTube at this point. Yeah, I'm just Jared. You can find me on Twitter at JMA4707.
Shit posting on Twitter.
Shit posting on Twitter. You can find me on our Discord. If you go there, you can find me on Twitch, participating in streams over at twitch.tv/runicarts, where I am a participant of multiple tabletop games at this point. I play a horrible vampire man, just horrible, and then I run a BattleTech game that we have been playing. So those are my things. That's where you can find me.
Once again, you can find us over at VGLpodcast at gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics. You can tweet us, VGL Podcast, or you can head over to our Podbean, VGLpodcast.podbean.com, which has links to everything, including the Discord. Or if you wish to spread the love, you can find us on your podcatcher of choice. Our lovely patrons have made this possible. You can find out more at patreon.com/VGLpodcast. Our intro and outro music is on the ground, and our Discovery Cube music is back.
As always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Bye-bye now.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.